Hey everybody, this is my 20-gallon open-topped office tank, and in the bottom right hand corner you can see I have a German blue ram, and it's starting to get a few spots on its head that I'm afraid could be hole in the head disease. So I'm not going to do a lot of talking about hole in the head disease right now. I do want to shoot a video talking about that specifically. I've never actually had to deal with it before. But just to get ahead of it, if that is what's going on in this tank, I want to reduce the overall nitrate level, the organics, dissolved solids, etc. And I also want to add a little bit of mineralization to the water. The lack of minerals could be potentially a cause for hole in the head disease. It's a sort of a mysterious condition that's not really well understood. And so some of the things that are associated with it are water that is too pure. And in my case, I've got water that's very pure in a mineral sense, but water that is too rich in organics can also be attributed to a factor that can contribute to hole in the head disease. And I've got both of those scenarios. I have very low mineral content in my water, but I've got a fairly significant amount of organics. So we're going to do a big water change today. We're going to start getting that nitrate and the other organics way down. But first we are going to do a nitrate test so we can see where we are starting. And the reason I've got the camera on the tripod today is so that I can use both hands and show you this test against its actual color code, and it'll give us a little better idea what we're looking at. Hopefully it will show up here on camera. We've got enough light. Let's see, where are we? There we are. No, we're probably not going to have enough light for this. Well, to my eye it is coming up north of 40, but it is not quite as dark as the 80. This starts at 0, it jumps to 20, 40, 80, 160, and then I don't even know, I think it's over 400 or something is on the next one. But we're sitting between 40 and 80, which is about normal for this tank, but I want to bring that down. And if I've got that much nitrate in the tank, that means I've got that much of everything else in the tank too. Again, the nitrate is just a good proxy you can use to get a good idea of what's going on in the tank. So far that pothos plant is not magicking the nitrate out of the water. I did not expect it to, and I'm getting exactly what I anticipated. So I'm going to let the camera roll. We'll do the whole water change. I'll do it fast forward or something like that so you get to see the whole process. And then we will talk about it a little more once the tank is cleaned up and we've finished the water change. So consider this part your before. The water change, so consider this part your before. And there's your after. So you basically saw what I did, a very gentle vacuuming on the bottom. I don't like to disturb the sand, but I do like to try to pick up any loose detritus and fish waste and whatnot that's lying on the bottom. So we got a lot of that out of there. I moved a lot of that pothos plant out of the way, which lets a ton more light into the tank. And I also got the glass wiped down. I changed out the filter. I cleaned out the filter intake area. That was getting a little clogged up and reducing the amount of flow we had through the tank. And I also raised the tank temperature from 27 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius, which I believe is about 86 or 86.5 degrees if I remember correctly. So we got the temperature up a little bit. That's been said that should help. Although I do have some other German blue rams and other tanks in the house that are doing well in much lower temperatures, but I guess time will tell whether or not we're going to have any issues with those. So I did a nitrate test after the water change, and it did not come out very much lower than what the starting point was. So I checked my tap water, and I'm getting about 20, maybe a little more than 20 parts per million in my tap water. So the water change was still effective. It still did reduce all the other stuff that would be in the water column as far as dissolved nutrients and fish waste and bacteria and hormones and all that kind of stuff. Nitrate wise though, I really did not reduce the nitrates significantly. We're still probably sitting around 40 parts per million. So I did bring them down, but I did not bring them down enough. So I'm going to probably have to go put some salt in my water softening system. It's probably out of salt, and that's why the nitrates are starting to build up a little bit. It needs to do a backwash and basically clean off all those ion exchange resin in there. They need to be backwashed with the sodium, etc., etc. So I'll get on top of the nitrate. But in the meantime, we did do a fairly significant water change, and hopefully things will start looking good. But as you can see, the ram still has those little white spots that are beginning to look more like lesions rather than just sort of scrapes or scratches. My initial thought was that they were little areas where the scales had been knocked off. The fish, bumped its head into something. I've seen that before. This does not look like that. This looks like it's getting worse. It looks like they're getting bigger, and it looks like they're developing into these sort of lesions. So finally, the last thing I'm going to do to the tank that I have not done yet is put some eggshells and a little bit of poultry grit in there. The poultry grit is calcium and magnesium. It's crushed up aragonite coral and crushed up oyster shells. So that will be putting some calcium and some magnesium in the tank, and then I'm going to put some crushed up eggshells in there as well. And while the eggshells don't provide a lot, they do provide a lot of trace minerals. You'll get sulfur and molybdenum and zinc, and you do get the calcium and the magnesium from the eggshells as well. So the eggshells do provide a lot of trace minerals, and I think that might help too. So that's the long and short of it. We're going to just kind of go by that. We're going to try to get some mineralization going on in the tank. We're going to try to keep the organics as low as possible, and I'm going to try to keep the temperature up a little higher. We do have an air stone in the tank, and that shouldn't be an issue. I've got a power head and a filter, so we got plenty of water circulation, so oxygenation shouldn't be an issue. And I think for good measure, I'm going to put a little bit of aquarium salt in the tank as well, maybe a teaspoon per gallon of aquarium salt in there, and see if that doesn't help out. So make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss any of the updates on this tank or anything else I've got coming up. You never know what it's going to be. Don't forget, I do have memberships available now. I always appreciate any super thanks I get. Don't forget, I also do live streams every Friday and Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully I will see you then. In the meantime, make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you on the next one.